First, I want to start. I want you to join me in prayer, Owen. Dear Lord, you're a good God, and you have given me the toughest battles of my life. I'm fat. The Patriots are ass. I got no bitches. But on my way to the car this morning, you spoke to me. You want to know what he said to me, Owen? He said, JJ, my son, hear me, for I will heal your pain. Stephon Diggs, you are a Houston Texan.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes,
Amen,
sir.
brother.
Yes,
Let's go.
sir.
So,
Oh God.
yeah, I mean that I turned 21 today, so I was focused on that. But when I roll out of bed and people are texting me about that, I'm like, oh, I didn't need that this morning, dude.
It's crazy. I mean, I you know I really didn't think that it was. I knew it was. I feel like everybody kind of knew it was a possibility that it was eventually going to happen. Um, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, like you know, like James Harden. You never really think he's going to get traded until it actually happens. And then you're like, oh my God,
I
you
think
know?
it's also one of those things where the writing was kind of on the wall because if you looked at his numbers, I'm pretty sure he went for 1,200 this season on 160 targets and still found a way to complain that he wasn't getting the ball. So the writing was kind of on the wall there. I mean,
Yeah, and I see a lot of Bills fans complaining about Diggs, saying that basically, well, he wasn't a factor in in the season regardless, so it's not really a big deal that he had left, you know. But I
yeah,
don't think people realize that like halfway through that season, his numbers were actually really good until I think it was this year when Ken Dorsey got fired.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's like the whole offense is shifting. Of course, like he's not going to get he's not going to be the primary focus. That offensive coordinator is not going to look at that previous offensive coordinator's plans prior and then be like, oh, I got to get Diggs the ball because those were previous. No, that's not how it works. You know?
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like drama followed this. It was the same way when we traded him to Buffalo. He kind of forced his way out by whining. I'm like, he was wide receiver one before
Mm-hmm.
we drafted my Lord and Savior Justin Jefferson, of course. But
Right.
yeah, he just
That's actually another thing that I see a lot of Bills fans bringing up. That it's just kind of like a really harsh reminder that they if they would have just sat and never traded for Stephon Diggs, he could have possibly got a Justin Jefferson, which I think makes this whole thing.
but at the same time, that's also a lazy comparison in the sense that you could have taken T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, or Justin Jefferson from that LSU super team, and you probably would have gotten something. Maybe not a one-handed grab on 4th and 20 in triple coverage, but
Yeah,
you would have gotten the similar production. Because T. Higgins is a solid wide receiver too. Jamar
right.
Chase, Jamar Chase is who he is. Yeah. So I mean, it's fun to think about, but at the same time, it's like a lazy comparison because
Yeah,
you don't know what that draft pick's going to be. It just happened to be like first or second best receiver we've ever drafted. So
right.
it's weird how it works that way. So
I get what you're saying, just because like it's the same thing. I mean, you can say that about every single pick, right?
yeah,
Like you could have said that about the Bears not drafting Patrick Mahomes or the Giants not drafting. Like it's all situational, and that's why like I see like a lot of people say, you know, for this upcoming draft, well, this quarterback needs to go here, and well, we need to trade. It's like for one, like people think that like just throwing out draft capital to whatever team because they want a specific player is always going to be the best move, but they don't think about long term about like you're giving up like I see a lot of people it's like well the Raiders, the Denver Broncos, they all need to trade up to number 3 or 2 to get whoever. It's like I don't think you guys understand like how big of implications those things have if that pick does not hit. And the
yeah.
likelihood of that pick also hitting is not very high if the team is not good to begin with.
It's especially with skill players because
Right.
it is
Because you are
extremely easy to get skill position players wrong, and it's also
mm,
extremely easy to get them right if the things fall the way they did. And that's just how it happened in that Stephon Diggs trade when we moved him to the Bills. So
right. But back on Diggs, I understand like people. The first thing that people are going to do is to hate on Diggs, like oh he traded his way out of another team, you know. But I also feel like people need to. I don't want to say give him slack because I understand it is frustrating that this is already the second team that he's driven his way out of. But I mean, that team was falling apart. Like, can we just be very honest about who the
Yeah.
Bills are and the direction that they were heading in? Where, like here, let me pull up.
Yeah. I saw.
So the Bills' record since they got Diggs they have had zero Super Bowls, zero conference championships, three divisional round losses, and a wild card loss in the
Yeah.
span that Diggs has been there.
And
You
it's
haven't even gone to an AFC championship, or haven't won an AFC championship game alone. So I mean, the general manager is probably looking at this like, this isn't going anywhere. Diggs is getting older. We're eating a ton of cap. You know,
yeah, they had to cut probably their five best or two of their five best defensive players. I think they cut Poyer and they traded
right?
somebody else. I forgot names off the top of my head, but they did all of that and they
That
were
defense is
still
completely gutted.
that's what I'm
Like
saying. Yeah, they
that
did all of that and
secondary
they are
got
still over
gutted.
the cap. And I sent you this earlier, but their wide receiver room right now is Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, Khalil Shakir, and Justin Shorter. Tell
That's
me
gross. That's
Tell
gross.
me, other than Khalil Shakir breaking off like a 60-yard screen pass in a random Week 7 game or something, when was the last
Mhm.
time you heard any of these guys make meaningful contributions?
And
But
I
it's hard to
I
do.
don't understand. And people are banking on the fact that Shakir is going to break out in this next year. But I want people to understand that is a very, very, like, there is very, very few quarterbacks that have ever been okay with subpar, like below subpar. Like, to be honest, like Curtis Samuel, Washington didn't want him. Shakir, he's okay, but he's not a number one, maybe not even a number two. You know,
No.
like the few quarterbacks that I have seen actually do it has been Mahomes, Brady, and maybe Peyton Manning, and I've even seen Andrew Luck, occasionally do. It's very, very, very difficult, especially when you're putting the pressure on Josh Allen. That, well, if your first, and second, and third read's not there, you got to run the ball.
Yeah.
That's not going to last.
No, not at
That's a
all.
recipe to have an injury or just a terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And it's one of those things where the standard in not even the AFC, but the league in general is Patrick Mahomes, and you have to go through him every year. So if let's pretend Patrick Mahomes didn't make a generational run. Does this Bills thing still work? Because like I feel like
Right.
if Mahomes doesn't pan out and become what he is now, then I feel like then it might be Josh Allen. I'd be talking about Josh Allen the same way we do Patrick Mahomes because
Mm,
Bills on paper should be the second or third best team every year in the AFC, and now
right.
they're consistently second. They never because occasionally that second place team rises up to beat Mahomes. And pretty sure Allen's what 1-4 or 0-5 or some god awful record against Mahomes. But again, it's hard to beat. I'm gonna glaze Mahomes here, but it's hard to beat somebody that can throw from 9 different arm angles, can get
Right.
harassed, and still throw for 200 yards in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers defense that was loaded. So
Right. And I think the other thing that people are like also forgetting is like, well, Mahomes took all of these Chipotle workers and Arby's workers to the Super Bowl and won. But I
I'm
don't
gonna
think like
fire maybe.
that that defense is top five and the least amount of points allowed in, like, what was it, the last 20 to 30. It was some ridiculous side. The last 20 to 30 years, they're the only five of the only teams that have um held teams to less points than all, like, it's like, I think it's some stupid like 12 points.
Yeah, and it's
Like,
one. It's
but like the Bills don't have that luxury. That defense was not good towards this last year and the year before that. They were regressing.
yeah. I mean, I compare it to like, and I'm going cross sport here for a second. You might get lost on this. I don't know, but it's like the Seattle Kraken. They went on a run last year as a new expansion team. And they didn't have a superstar. They just had a bunch of dudes that played really well together. Aside from Chris Jones and maybe
Mhm.
like Drew Tranquil, the Chiefs just have a bunch of dudes that played
L'Jarius Sneed had a
well.
crazy season,
So I'm saying, yeah,
you
the Chiefs
know.
just have a bunch of dudes that play really, really well together. But
Right. And I understand the Bills' perspective is like, we have Tre'Davious White, we have Jordan Poyer, all these other people. But like, it's one thing to have like these awesome players that can like are on the same level as Chris Jones, Ladarius Need, and like all these crazy players. But their biggest issue in these last 2 years has been health. Like they cannot stay on that field to produce what they need to be doing. And I mean, that's why I said I don't blame the Bills office either for just letting these guys go because there was not you weren't producing anything. You're eating
Yeah.
a ton of dead cap, and like it's crazy to me too because it's becoming more glaringly obvious. Like the last 2 years, how horrible of a contract Von Miller has been.
Oh,
it it
that was
has
an awful
tripled this
deal, dude.
franchise's cap.
I'm not even a Bills fan. I got pissed off. Like not like pissed off, but I'm like, that's the type
Right.
of deal that you give to like a 27-year-old who's getting into his physical prime,
Mhm.
not a Von Miller who's granted Von Miller's one of the best at what he does ever, statistically. But he's what, 32, 33, like late in his career. Like it's not
Right.
it's like the Falcons paying Kirk an obscene amount of money. You don't know what you're getting from a linebacker who's 32, 33, 34. Like you don't know what you're getting with Kirk off an Achilles with a contract that's going to take him into his late 30s.
I
Like it's
just feel like spending that much money on like I get it. There's great transcendent, defensive players, but I really can't justify the thought of paying that much for a defensive player. Like just because, I mean, let's be honest, the league is becoming more offensively,
yeah,
minded and
the league
based.
wants points.
Wants points, right? Exactly. So spending that obscene amount of money is just is insane. And I remember at the time too, people were saying, "Oh, this is a terrible contract," and a lot of Bills fans tried justifying it, talking about how the cap would be more towards the end of the contract. Well, lo and behold,
And it
that
got
thing
to
that
the
you
end of the
guys were
contract and
bragging
you're not.
about that was going to help you ended up crippling your franchise.
Yeah.
Like it's it's a mess. I mean, the Bills front office knows that they're rebuilding. It's crazy. Like I know that there's a lot of optimism because it's Josh Allen, but I mean Gabe Davis was producing, Stephon Diggs was producing. Like those are those are big significant losses.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you do here because you've got that receiver room with Dawson Knox. You're in a division where the Jets are better. Your Pats aren't gonna go 7-10 again. There's no way that's gonna happen.
Listen. I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off here. We are. Listen. I'm gonna paint a picture for you here, right? So Josh Allen just lost his best receiver, his two best receivers, right? Um, Tua is one hit away from having CTE.
Probably already
Uh,
does.
Aaron Rodgers is in Argentina probably smoking crack, and the Patriots are getting
No,
Drake
no,
May. I'm not saying that we're back, but
no.
Super Bowl,
Aaron
Super
Rodgers.
Bowl,
Aaron Rodgers is in a
Super
cave
Bowl.
and he's visiting the boogeyman because he smokes so much ayahuasca. He has no idea what cave he's actually in. So, and
Like I'm just
if he's
saying the
not doing
landscape is
that,
there.
if he's not doing that, he's probably stoned on the Pat McAfee show. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. So,
Right. Yeah.
um,
No, it's gonna be tough sledding for the Bills. Like that that is a hard loss,
yeah,
and it, I know that they're probably likely looking at the draft for answers, but it's gonna be really hard to. I mean, let's look at the like secondary. Are you gonna have Curtis Samuel and a rookie wide receiver go up against Christian Gonzalez and Jalen Ramsey twice a year
and then
and
have
Sauce Gardner
and then
and Sauce Gardner?
have Khalil Shakir be guarded by Sauce Gardner twice a year. Like,
That's you're asking for trouble, and it sucks. I mean, I'm a famous Bills hater, but like that is you are putting so much on Josh Allen's plate, and like that's the crazy part, right? Because Bills wanted Josh to do less, and the front office was publicly saying that we need Josh Allen to do less, and now they're putting even more on his plate. It's like you need to
yeah,
do this, you need to do even more now. It's like I'm
the
already
iron-
doing.
the irony in telling him to do less is that he was asked to do less because he went out and got Stephon Diggs. Now Stephon Diggs is gone. All of that you had pre Stephon Diggs is gone. Like it's just
Right.
all that, and I wouldn't be shocked. This is a little bit aggressive. Call this a hot take, call it whatever you want. I would not be shocked if the Bills got last in your division. I would not be shocked.
That's a stretch. I
I
will
mean,
say
I'm not
that
saying
is
I'm
a
not saying
hot take.
I'm by no means saying they're gonna go like 5-11, but I don't know. I don't know
I
if they
just
win more than I don't know if they win more than 8 games. I don't think they have a winning record next year. They could
I
go.
think I think the biggest likelihood is honestly like this team is 1 or 2 games above 500 next year. The way they gutted that defense,
Yeah, they're
I you
yeah
you can't keep up, dude.
yeah. I would see them around 9-8 or 8-9, but at the same time, the Jets could win 10 games. Dolphins should win 10 games.
Mm.
You guys inevitably are gonna be better. Like that's just there's
But
no like I'm not again with same with you guys. I'm not saying you guys are gonna go 5-12, but you're not gonna go what 6-11? What was it last year?
I think there's a likelihood. I mean, for at least for me, my Patriots, um, I just think that like we're in a rebuild. I mean, that's obvious. Like in a rebuild doesn't change. I mean, we're not okay. This is the other thing I want people
Mac
to
Jones
understand.
for a bag of
I'm a rant a little bit.
Mac Jones for a
So
bag of chips.
yeah, yeah, right. Hey, that sixth or seventh round pick could really change our lives.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people are talking about the Texans and what they've done with CJ Stroud, and it's like, why can't our team say, oh, this is how my team should be doing it? This is I don't think people don't realize what the Texans and CJ Stroud did does not happen
Oh yeah, no.
ever.
Rookie
That
QBs don't hit like that often.
what they accomplished in year one and what they're about to do in year two never happened. That is an anomaly.
Yeah.
Like, and so people are like, well, if the Patriots do this, that, we could be back in contention. We can't. All right. I feel like our ceiling is anywhere from 5 to 6 wins, but that's just a part of the process. Spend 2, 3 years picking high in the draft pick on hopefully key players and are in a better position of which in multiple free agencies and you're where you want to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, another thing I want to say is I've been praying on this time for a while. Bill's downfall is happening. You know, I'll just want to understand on for years I have heard Bills fans tell me Josh Allen is your new daddy. He's taking over this division now. He's your boogeyman for the next 20
Jonesy.
years. For the next 20 years, he's your boogeyman. We're the Patriots now. Where they at now?
Yeah,
Where they
and,
at now? So I got a little, we're
and
gonna a
it's very
little,
Shannon
we're
Sharp
gonna,
team.
we're
Let's
gonna
go.
celebrate. We're gonna pop this pack, this Bills pack.
Yeah.
So
Let's go.
I'm gonna have a good night, and
And
long live the dynasty.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And one more thing is that 6th or 7th round pick that you guys traded. You guys would know a thing or two about hitting on a 6th or 7th round pick. So
Right.
I
It,
mean,
I feel like that's also rare. I mean, we saw it with again Purdy's an anomaly. That does not happen.
I'm saying yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, you guys had Brady as like what pick 199. That 6th or 7th round? It doesn't matter, but it's like
right,
7th round. But it's one of those things where
right.
it's you're kind of in a rebuild, but at the same time, you still want to like. Last year, the Vikings were described as competitive rebuild, and we were
Hmm.
one Kirk Achilles away from maybe making the playoffs. Who knows?
Right. And
So
that's just bad luck. You don't expect those kind of things to happen. And it was after that moment that it's kind of like shit really started to hit the fan.
yeah,
To
I,
be
I was
frank, but
thinking about I was thinking about it. I'm like the crazy part about that Kirk Falcons thing. We're getting tangenty. We can switch topics here a little bit, but the
mhm,
crazy part about that Kirk signing, what I think it was 180 million with the Falcons, is that he took a hometown discount with us last year,
mhm.
but excuse me, he tore his Achilles, so we never got to see what that hometown discount would have gotten us. So that's why my delusional football brain was like, hey, he might resign with us for 2 years, like 90 million. We can just overpay him for 2 more years in our uniform. But at the same time, he already took that discount, and it's not his fault nor our fault that his Achilles turned to dust. So
Right.
speaking of
We're,
dust, what do we think about the Chiefs and Arrowhead, the future of Arrowhead? You got any thoughts on that?
I feel like right now it's kind of like it's kind of like a game of chicken, you know? Like the Chiefs owner, I think it's I forget his last name, it's like Hunt, the Hunt
Yeah, I
family.
think it's
But
Clark Hunt, I believe.
Clark Hunt, yep, he had made the statement prior to the bill being voted on with basically taxpayers paying, I think, something ridiculous like 60 to 70% of what it would cost for the stadium to be built. But he had said, oh well, if we don't get that vote passed, then I don't know if the Chiefs can stay in Kansas City.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
I don't see, and again, I don't know how those business dealings work because those are millionaires and billionaires talking about millions and billions of dollars. So it's honestly, I don't see any way they leave, but at the same time, if you don't have a place to play, then you don't have a place to play. So
right? And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I mean, obviously, when your team is winning three Super Bowls, it's you want to upgrade naturally, you
yeah,
know. And I did see also that the Dallas Mavericks today had said that he would be open to the Chiefs relocating to Dallas. I think Jerry would go into cardiac arrest if that were to happen.
yeah. There's I just
I feel like there's no way he would just sit there and do
I just
that.
I don't. Yeah, you're right. I don't see Dallas. I would more maybe. I
I could
don't
see St.
know.
Louis. I mean, it's pretty close to where they
Yeah,
already
St.
are.
Louis. Just yeah. I mean, you could still
The fan
call.
base is there.
You could technically still call them the Kansas City Chiefs because you're still in Missouri. You're not in Kansas City proper. So I mean, that would make the most logistical sense. But yeah, Dallas just makes no sense because they've already got that delusional fan base. The Dak.
Oh God, could you imagine? Could you imagine the Chiefs and going to the like Dallas with the Cowboys? The amount of bandwagons there would be in one state would be
Bro.
insane.
I've been a Chiefs fan since day one. Pull,
Yeah, it would be the
pull,
most unbearable place on earth.
yeah, pulls up brand new Mahomes jersey. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they got
right.
it's like half Mahomes, half Dak. It's like God, Jesus, it's
Yeah,
like. But yeah, no, I think it's just a game of chicken right now. You know, they're just kind of waiting, like feeling each other out, and I know that Clark Hunt does not want to pay
no,
that amount of money, so he's
which is
there
weird.
might be some. I feel like the likelihood of what's going to happen is either you know they're going to come to an agreement where the percentage of the amount of taxpayers of what they're going to pay is going to be lowered, and then it's going to be voted on, and it's going to be passed, so it's a little lower, you
Yeah,
know, or they relocate
I,
St.
I
Louis.
think I think it's almost people as taxpayers don't want to pay more money, but at the same time,
Mhm.
you've got Patrick Mahomes on your football team, and he's already brought the city three championships. So
Right. And the
you
amount of
really want.
revenue that it generates also, but just having that stadium there in the
I was
state,
gonna
you
say,
know,
yeah. Do you really want to give that up just because some millionaires and billionaires couldn't agree on how much to pay for a patch of land? Like,
yeah, no,
so
for sure. But I also wanted to get into, I mean, the draft. We can briefly talk about it before we get into
yeah.
our
I
mock
mean,
drafts here, just because the official compensation for Stephon
Diggs.
Diggs was the Bills got a 2025 second rounder, the Texans second rounder, and the Texans get Stephon Diggs, sixth rounder this year, and a fifth next year.
That's not.
So who fleeced who? I feel like it's even, to be honest with you.
I do too, but at the same time, when I hear a player and two picks getting swapped for one singular pick, that feels like the team that got the player fleeced because
I'm surprised, honestly,
they
that
got
he
the
went for
player
that low.
and then you can go use that fifth and sixth to go like draft a couple offensive linemen. Because if they get an O line, if the Texans get an O line, they may never lose a game. They may not score less than 35 points in a game all year. So, and CJ
That
Stroud,
makes me curious to wonder, like, because if that's all they got for Diggs, I feel like there's no way they didn't, because I saw another report too that, what was it, Brandon Bean had,
yeah, yeah,
told Josh Allen, well, he didn't directly say, well, we're trading Stephon Diggs, but he had said, we are getting offers for Diggs, and basically we're going to do what we got to do, you know. But
yeah.
I'm surprised that was the high. I mean, I don't. I feel like there must have been more offers. There's a lot of wide receiver needy teams, and if that's all they got, that's kind of weird to me. You know, so I kind of wonder if that's what they just did right by Diggs to trade him there.
I I think so. I mean, here's the thing: is he's not wide receiver one in Houston, but I think he's gonna have that in his head that he's that guy, but Tank Dell's that guy. I'm not again. Tank Dell's a second year player, so we have to see how that plays out, of course. But
I think Nico Collins is one of the most underrated wide
yeah, Nico
receivers.
Collins is
He's
probably
so
even
good.
ahead of Diggs, just sheerly for the fact that those two are younger, probably
Mm.
faster, and have more tangible traits that you can use. And keep in mind, I'm pretty sure Tank Dell was on pace for 1,000 before he did he tear his Achilles or did he break his leg on the goal line? Someone told me he broke his leg.
I think he had broken his leg. I don't remember what the exact play was. But yeah, it's the Texans are loaded right now. They
Yeah,
got Joe Mixon. They got Stephon Diggs now. Like
yeah.
this is what you do when you have a good rookie
This is
quarterback on a rookie deal. Like this is exact like
excellent. Yeah.
blueprint of what you need to do. And it's kind of crazy that we're saying that about the Texans because they were such a dumpster fire. They were the Panthers before the Panthers became.
2 years ago, yeah, I saw a video about all because Lovie Smith went for two and cost them the first overall pick.
Mhm.
That's how they got here. So like
It's a
someone like
butterfly effect, dude. You saw it
that's what I'm
happen
saying.
before your very eyes.
Someone get a Lovie Smith statue because he single-handedly with Davis Mills saved their franchise. But
It's so crazy. It's so crazy how like like we see these things happen, and like a couple years ago when the Jets when they beat the Rams and they lost on Trevor Lawrence, which is
oh my
crazy.
God, yeah,
So a lot of butterfly effects, dude.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I
I
think
I could I think the landscape's completely changing in the AFC. The Texans are not like it's not an exaggeration to say that they're those at least in the top 3 to 4 teams that are going to be making deep playoff runs.
which is nuts because I don't think any of their offensive skill players are over the age of 25 except for Stephon Diggs. So,
Right. And,
um,
and I like I'm gonna keep it real here. I like this Texans team more than I like the Ravens.
which
You
is
know,
nuts because the Ravens have a two-time MVP at QB. So,
the Browns. What other teams? The Bills. What team can you say that it's better than them other than the Chiefs and maybe the Bengals if health is there?
I mean, on paper,
They're
you
they're,
you
they're
could
pretty good.
say you could say Miami simply for the fact that they have a track team
Hmm.
a skill group, but at the same time, they're playing in a division with Sauce Gardner. They're playing in a division with Christian Gonzalez.
Right. The path is gonna be much easier for the Texans than it is gonna be
Oh,
for the
100%. Because
you know
pretty sure I don't know. The Colts got rid of Gardner Minshew, so I don't know who's there. I don't know who their guys gonna be. Is it might be Jacoby Brissett still, but I could be wrong.
for the Browns.
No, for the Colts in that AFC South.
Oh, it's Anthony Richardson,
Oh, I
and
forgot. How did I forget about AR, dude? AR
he was
was
he got injured in like the first week.
yeah. So yeah. So yeah, they got AR who
He's
has
still
a full
developing.
year under.
You see you would want to see more improvement in about his third year. But that's not a team that's prepared to compete right now.
Oh, 100%. But that AFC South division is going to be so much fun, dude. So much fun.
I think the Texans are going to take it. A lot of Jaguars fans are going to argue, but like when your biggest signing is Gabe Davis and you, I
I mean, it's going to be those
like
two
I'm
teams.
going to hold my opinion to myself. What I'm going to say is going to get me in trouble by Jaguars fans. That I don't see Trevor Lawrence as high as other people. So I'm gonna just leave it at that.